Friends, hello everyone. Also, subscribe to our Telegram channel, where we publish current and important news without censorship. The link is in the description. We continue to analyze the situation on the front lines daily. Last night, a terrible tragedy occurred. A strike was carried out on the city of SUDZHA in the Kursk region, targeting a boarding school where civilians who had not managed to leave the city were staying. Among them were disabled individuals, elderly people, and ordinary civilians. We will examine this situation and also discuss what is happening in the Kursk region. Let's open the map together. Initially, I plan to discuss details on other front lines because there is a lot of news, but as you can see, everything changes quickly, and neither I nor you have control over it. For many people, today is a black day. I mean the relatives of those who suffered in the attack. Here is the Kursk region. Here is the city of SUDZHA. What is known at this moment? The strike targeted a boarding school located on Lenin Street. This is a 3-story brick building situated at the intersection of Lenin and Shchepki streets. According to all available information, after the Armed Forces of Ukraine, AFU, took control of the city, this place was used as a temporary shelter for civilians who had not managed to evacuate before the AFU took over. Additionally, as I mentioned, elderly and disabled individuals were also housed here. The exact number of people inside is unknown, as is how many remain under the rubble. However, if around 100 people were reportedly staying there, and the building itself is large and can accommodate far more, then the death toll, considering the severity of the strike as seen in the footage, there were multiple hits, could be very high. I won't post these images here, but I have shared them on my Telegram channel. You can go there to see them and subscribe. The link is in the video description. Given the power of the strike, the number of casualties may reach dozens. At least, this is what war correspondents and military bloggers such as Podolyaka, Kodyanok, Pozniakov, and others claim. The Ukrainian side blamed the Russian army for the attack. An official statement was issued, claiming the strike was carried out using KAB bombs. The Russian Ministry of Defense, in turn, denied this information. A separate statement was released, asserting that the strike was carried out using missiles launched from the Sumy region. Later, the missile type was specified. They were HARM missiles, launched from the village of Malaya Rybitsa. This village is in the north of the Sumy region. Here it is. Let's measure the distance to SUDZHA. It turns out to be 27 kilometers. In general, what can be said? The situation is tragic, especially for the relatives of the deceased. I also want to express my sincere condolences. As for the overall situation in the Kursk region, setting aside this tragedy and looking solely at the front line, the situation is gradually changing. Regarding the city of SUDZHA, the Russian army has not yet managed to approach from the south. The situation for the AFU on the northwest side is worsening. Let's analyze the situation together. So, what do we have at the moment? Let's start from the south. Makovka. There has been a slight advance by the Russian army. To recap, most of the village was under Russian control by January 10th. However, the AFU managed to gather enough forces in SUDZHA, formed an assault group, and during a counterattack, pushed Russian troops out of Makovka. For 2 weeks, the situation remained static. The AFU, having taken control of Makovka, could not advance further despite attempts. At the same time, Russian forces were unable to enter the village. But everything changed just 2 days ago. During a direct clash, Russian assault troops managed to break through the defense, enter the southern outskirts of the village, secure positions in nearby buildings, and then capitalize on their success, advancing several hundred meters deeper into the village. By the way, many Telegram channels recently spread outright false information, claiming that fighting was already taking place in Zamostai. How could there be fighting in Zamostai when Zamostai is here? To reach Zamostai, one must first fully secure Makovka, which has not happened yet. Many people post information without even checking the map. Be cautious with such sources. Now, moving on. The AFU is in a bad situation northwest of SUDZHA, as I mentioned earlier. For quite a while, they managed to hold back the Russian army on the approaches to Sverdlikovo, preventing a breakthrough in the final sector. But ultimately, they could not withstand the pressure. Russian forces have advanced 1.3 kilometers, reached the outskirts, and entered the village itself. Sverdlikovo is extremely valuable for the AFU. Previously, command posts were even located here. Why is it important? Look at the map. If the AFU is pushed out of Sverdlikovo, there is a direct route for Russian forces all the way to SUDZHA. Or rather, to Zaleshnya. And Zaleshnya borders the city of SUDZHA. For the past 4 days, fierce battles have been ongoing in Sverdlikovo. The AFU is sending reserves from SUDZHA. Their only goal is to delay Russian forces for as long as possible. If the AFU is forced out of Sverdlikovo, they will no longer be able to hold back the Russian advance along the highway, as there are no fortifications, just open fields leading up to SUDZHA. In general, I would say that the situation for the AFU here is close to catastrophic. As for other sections of the front in the Kursk region, along the Viktorovka-Pogrebki line, there are no significant changes. Currently, half of Pogrebki is under Russian control, while the other half is held by the AFU. Novaya Sorokina, Staraya Sorokina, and Nikolaevka are in a gray zone. Neither side has established full control. Viktorovka remains under Ukrainian control, as does Malaya Lakhnya. There have been 2 attempted advances into Viktorovka, but so far, without success. On another front, Russian forces have entered the eastern outskirts of Cherkaskoye. The battle for the village itself has not yet begun. Finally, the latest developments in this area. Russian forces have crossed the Syal River and secured positions in the Krynikny Yar area, between Kurilovka and Gaevo. They are now positioned on the outskirts of Gaevo. That's the overall situation in the region. Further details, including updates on the strike on the boarding school in SUDZHA, will be published in our Telegram channel. The link is in the video description. Meanwhile, developments continue in other parts of the Kursk region. Russian forces are increasing pressure on several fronts, seeking to expand their control and improve their tactical positions. To the north of SUDZHA, intense fighting is ongoing around Staraya and Novaya Guda. Ukrainian forces are using the terrain, fortifying positions in forests, and taking advantage of the complex landscape for defense. However, Russian troops have managed to advance, expanding their control by several kilometers. According to reports, heavy fighting continues, with both sides suffering significant losses. On the Kazakya-Lopan-Kovsharovka line, the AFU maintains its defense, but Russian forces are gradually gaining momentum, forcing Ukrainian troops to retreat to backup positions. The situation in Sverdlikovo remains tense. After Russian troops entered the village, fighting shifted to the central part, with continued street clashes. Ukrainian units are attempting counterattacks, but the forces are unequal. The Russian army is bringing in reinforcements, allowing it to hold positions and continue its slow advance. We will continue monitoring developments and promptly publish updates in our Telegram channel. Subscribe to stay informed. That's all for now. Stay safe and keep following the news. See you soon.